Have you ever seen a serious problem in your community and just thought, who's actually supposed to fix this? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We're going to follow a crisis from the very first warning sign all the way to the government's response. And in the process, we'll see how state democracy really works.
So, our story kicks off in a town called Patalparam. It starts small, just whispers and a few news reports about a water shortage. But then, there's something much more alarming. People are starting to get sick. And right there, that's the first clue that a big problem is brewing. And then, things escalate. I mean, they escalate fast. This isn't just about a lack of water anymore. This is a full-blown public health emergency. The news breaks that 10 people have died. Suddenly, the problem isn't just an inconvenience, it's deadly. The stakes are now sky high for everyone.
Now, when a crisis gets this bad, people don't just stay quiet. No way. They get angry, they get organized, and they hit the streets demanding action. And listen to who they're calling out by name. They're MLA. This is the spark. This is the moment the gears of government start to grind into motion, all because the people are forcing them to.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the crisis, then we'll figure out what an MLA actually is, we'll see how a government gets formed, watch the big debate unfold, and track the response. And it all leads back to the power of the people. So this whole mess in Patalparam really boils down to one simple but huge question. When something goes this wrong, whose job is it to fix it? I mean, really think about it. Who's in charge? Is it the health department, the local council, someone else entirely? The answer to that question is the key to unlocking how this whole system is supposed to work for the people. All right, let's tackle the next piece of this puzzle. Remember those protesters? They were all shouting for their MLA. So let's figure that out. Who is an MLA and what do they do? Well, MLA stands for Member of the Legislative Assembly. The easiest way to think about them is as a direct link. They are the person elected by the folks in one specific area to be their voice, to literally represent them where the big decisions get made. And that specific area has a name. It's called a constituency. You see, a state isn't just one giant voting block. It's carved up into all of these smaller pieces. Each one of those constituencies gets to elect its very own MLA, which is how we make sure every corner of the state has someone fighting for them. Okay, so we've got all these individual MLAs from all over the state, but a bunch of individual representatives isn't a government, right? So how do all those separate election wins come together to form an actual, functioning government that runs the whole state? Let's look at a real-world example to make this super clear. These are the election results from Himachal Pradesh back in 2003. You can see there are 68 total seats up for grabs, one for each constituency. And the results are all broken down by party. The Indian National Congress, the INC, won 43, the BJP won 16, and then you have a few others and independents filling out the rest. So, to actually form the government, a party needs what's called a majority. It's just simple math, really. You need more than half the total seats. In an assembly with 68 seats, half is 34. So the magic number to get control is 35. You need at least 35 MLAs. And if we look back at our results, the INC got 43 seats. That's way more than the 35 they needed. So, boom, they become the ruling party. That means they form the government, and their leader becomes the chief minister. Now, what about everyone else? All those other MLAs from the other parties? They become the opposition. And their job is absolutely crucial. They're there to challenge the government, ask the tough questions, and basically hold their feet to the fire. All right, now let's actually go inside the Legislative Assembly. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where that crisis back in Patalparam finally gets put on the official agenda and debated by all the MLAs. It's showtime. So imagine you're there. An MLA from the opposition gets up to speak, and he is not holding back. He's talking about 15 deaths in his area. He calls the government's response a shame. He's taking the pain from his community and putting it right in the center of the debate for everyone to hear. Then another opposition MLA stands up, and notice how they shift gears. It's not just outrage anymore, it's sharp, specific questions. How many cankers have you actually sent? What have you done to clean the wells? See? They're demanding specifics. They want concrete answers, not just vague promises. And, of course, the ruling party fires back. One of their MLAs stands up and says, "Hey, my colleagues are exaggerating.
We have taken steps. We've sent water tankers out, we're distributing ORS packets. And this clash, this heated back and forth, this is exactly what the assembly is for.
So, after all that arguing, what was the point? Well, the point is that now everything is on the table. It's on the official record. The terrible state of the hospitals, the dirty water, the lack of doctors, the garbage, all of it. The government can't pretend they don't know about it anymore. They're officially on the hot seat.
Okay, a debate is great, but talk is cheap, right? Now comes the real test. What is the government, the chief minister, and the ministers actually going to do about it? How does all that talk turn into real action?
Well, one of the first moves they make is to hold a press conference. And this is a really big deal. It's how the government speaks directly to the public. They call in all the journalists and basically announce their plan to the entire state. It's them making a public promise of action.
And here is the action plan they announce. Notice how it lines up perfectly with what was said in the debate. They promise tanker trucks for water, a campaign to stop the sickness from spreading, and even a special committee to tackle the sanitation problem. They even pledge the funds to get it done. The talk has now become a concrete plan.
So let's just zoom out for a second. We've followed this entire chain of events. A crisis on the street leads to a debate in the assembly, which leads to a government action plan. But what's the fundamental principle, the big idea that's holding this whole thing together? It all comes down to this, the most important idea of all. In a democracy, the real power, the main authority, doesn't belong to the government or the MLAs. It belongs to the people. Because the people are the ones who elect those representatives in the first place. Their voice is the engine that drives this entire system.
The whole journey from the streets of Petalpuram to the halls of government shows a system that is designed for accountability. The people spoke up, and the government was forced to listen and act. So that leaves us with one last question to think about. Not about them, but about us. This system is here, ready to work. So the real question is, how do we use our voices to make sure it does?